We'll call the January 26, 2023 area planning meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, roll call when you're ready.
Let me get myself sit down here. Darren Price.
Here.
Bill Free.
Here.
Brian Durham.
Here.
Dale Munson.
Here.
Gary Naylor.
Present.
Robert Stewart.
Here.
Brian Robb.
Here.
Bill Mackey. Brian Hensley.
We haven't had Brian Hensley for a while.
Who is it supposed to be?
Daryl.
Okay. Yeah,
He's
I guess I just corrected one thing. There's still the old one. Oh, that's because I went back to, it's like, where was the one from last year? So, yeah.
Okay, sorry, Daryl.
You're good.
That's Bill's fault. Bill McDaniel.
Present, and I resent that. Even though it's true.
Jeff Wesley.
Present.
And myself.
Okay. We have a quorum. Approval of minutes for June 9th, August 25th, September 22nd, October 27th, November 17th, and December 15th.
What was that? Yeah.
So moved.
Do we have any minutes?
No, I thought I sent you
When did you send that?
before the last meeting. So I should have followed up with you.
Okay.
So we'll follow up.
Yes.
And, then what I can do is that anything that we still have that might be outstanding, I can help take care of that too.
That's good.
Since I'll need something to do.
Yeah. Introduction of new member, Bill Free, County Commissioner, Citizen Appointee. Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Sure. Hi, my name's Bill Free. Let's see, I live over on Pinecone Court, which is back behind Woodside Village. It's the little neighborhood, if you guys know where it's at, up behind the water tower. My wife Erica and I and my 12-year-old daughter live back there. Let's see, I've been in Fayette County since 2009. I moved up here from Kentucky, so don't hold that against me. Let's see, I worked for Fayette County EMS. I've been there for approximately 7 years. And before that, I worked for Fayette Regional EMS and worked in the ER there. So I've had some community involvement with those entities.
Yeah. Welcome aboard.
Yes, sir.
So, Bill, we put you down as a token redneck for the group?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no
Yeah,
problem,
but I'm
no
from
problem.
Western Kentucky, so it's the civilized part of it.
Civilized.
Yeah, we wear shoes. We don't date our sisters.
Her friend's
okay.
from McKee, Kentucky. You can't get any further. Yeah, McKee.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jackson County, you're right.
Yeah. The election of officers, nominations for president.
Mr. President, I nominate Brian Durham to continue.
Okay. Any,
And just to a slate of officers, like you have now.
yeah,
I would like to nominate it that way, please.
yeah, your name. So we have a motion to appoint Brian Durham president, Gary Naylor vice president, and Bev Rude secretary. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, everyone. Appointments, executive director, attorney, and APC citizen appointee to the BZA.
It's currently Darren,
Yeah.
Mr. Price.
I would make a nomination that we keep it the same.
Second.
Okay, so that for all three?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to appoint Bill McDaniel, executive director, Jeff Wessling, our attorney, and Darren Price, the APC citizen appointee to the BZA. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
What a train.
City and county building permit
Democratic
resolution.
convention.
This was one of the priorities for the start of last year, but the solar energy ordinance kind of took precedence for several months, pretty much over everything else. I still have some pieces to fill in on a little bit of information, and then if everything is, the actual form and the various statements here are okay with Mr. Westling, I'll fill in whatever I still need to do as far as fill in. But this is the, because the building code ordinances, those that adopt the building code, those are actually adopted and held as a public hearing at the county commissioners and then also the city council. Because those are not part of the area planning law. It's a different part of the Indiana state law with the overdevelopment. So what the area plan commission would do is to then make a resolution to then forward the resolution along with the proposed ordinances to adopt the updated building code ordinance to the city and then the county. And you have copies of the one for the city and then the county. Oh, on top of that is, if anybody's curious, it's because some people have questions over the actual authority, over the approval of the ordinances, and that is what is on top. Then we have the Fayette County one on top. There's requested, there's a couple questions I have with Mr. Westling, and that I'm not certain about. Well, one is just approving there's the pursuant to language. It's just, I'm not certain really what that is actually calling for, pursuant to. It's the, okay. So I have the fee established. I need to insert that for the fee that was adopted by the county commissioners. But, oh yeah, that's on bottom of page 4. And it's under the enforcement and remedies. So the question is that section 1, withhold issuance of permits. And it's whenever a person, which is either an applicant for a building permit or an obtainer of a building permit, owes, including checks returned for insufficient funds, permit fees owed pursuant to, that be referenced in the actual individual ordinances?
Or the fee schedule.
Yeah, the fee schedule, okay. All right, that's what I wasn't certain about, I just wanted to verify. So, adopt the county fee schedule, okay. And then the other one is then it's just the bottom of page 6, is the one with the language for the right of appeal. And the main question I have is, because there's also city, and then because the city adopts the ordinance, as does the county. And whether the language right here, if the city adopts it, is it permissible then for the county commissioners, even for appeals within the city of Connersville, to act as the body to hear the appeals? And because the way it's written is that the county commissioners is the de facto building commission, for Fayette County. So that's the primary question I really have with that, or whether it would need to be an actual entity within the city of Connersville, which I would assume would probably be the Board of Public Works if it had to be the city of Connersville. So.
I would probably have it say the Board of Works for
Okay. All right.
For the city.
properties inside of the city and commissioners for outside of city limits.
Within corporate boundaries, okay? I suspected that was the case, but Okay, and as we go to the last page, it's the same for both. I need to insert the the proper information for the city of Connersville approval, and then also for the county commissioners. And as you can see right here, and the part that's below that is that with the state of Indiana, with the Fire and Building Commission, Safety Commission, is they won't review it for approval until it's actually an adopted ordinance. So, but so that's why they're right there. So what we'll eventually have is when everything is adopted, we'll have information from, it'll include their information, adoption information, the cities, the counties, and then also the state of Indiana. Because until the state of Indiana adopts a building code ordinance, so for example, a jurisdiction does not have one in place. But they want to then start adopting and enforcing the building codes. My understanding is that they cannot do so until they have this adopted. They adopt this language and then also then have the state of Indiana approve it. And since the state of Indiana retains the authority over the building codes, that's why we have to go through this. So that's why that's why I provided all this to everybody. So there's the resolution language, the part with the state of Indiana, and there's the city and the county. And this was a meeting with Mr. Price, Mr. Durham, and Mr. Naylor, determined that this would be probably a priority, and also because it would be an easier one to handle since I will not be here for February. So, that's where
Do we need to take any
We
action?
need to approve this resolution, correct?
instruct me to complete the information and then to then prepare everything for the actual final, for the ordinance, the corrections I need to make in the ordinance language, and then also the things I have to insert in this so that we can have the resolution ready for the Area Plan Commission to then act, and then we can forward it to the City Council and the County Commissioners. And we won't be able to do it the first part of the first meeting of March for the City Council and the Commissioners because it requires a public hearing and all the notification requirements of the public hearing. So it would be their second meeting of March is when the Commissioners and then the City Council will hold their hearings for this. And hopefully I'll also be back to where I can at least hobble around for that.
So otherwise, what you're saying, Bill, is we can't go ahead and approve the resolution tonight with the additions to it.
Yeah, just for the addition, so then we can have it ready because
You want it ready for the
yeah,
February.
February, because we
Okay.
still have, because even though we don't have to have the 10 days, we still have to have sufficient time then to notice in the paper that there is a resolution. Because it's 48 hours, is that correct, Jeff?
That's right.
Yeah, at least we have the 48 hours for that.
Mr. President, I would move that we instruct Bill and to finish up the resolution with the needed information and the added information to the ordinance, both city and county ordinances, so that we can hear this resolution for next month's meeting.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. On to the annual plan. Hey, the first thing on the annual plan, prepare building code resolutions for the city and county and adopt current Indiana model building code ordinance. Act on resolution to The request that the county commissioners and city council adopt building code ordinances consistent with the current Indiana building and fire codes. We just started that process, so check number one off the annual plan. Revise and adopt new area planning and board of zoning appeals rules of procedure. This was something we worked on probably 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, that kind of came to a screeching halt at the time of COVID.
Yeah.
Yep, yes. And so it's time to pick back up with that. And then right below that is to adopting a Zoom meeting option for the petitioners. And then with the, and whether or not them have an additional fee for arranging the Zoom meetings to cover, I guess, the part of that would really, cover some of the costs associated with that. And that should probably be adopt that within the rules of procedure, correct?
Just, are we talking about we're not talking about having Zoom meetings ourselves, we're just talking about allowing applicants, yeah, that's
Exactly.
under the rules of procedure.
Okay,
for the
yeah,
applicant.
absolutely, under rules of procedure.
Bill, would those fees have to be approved by the commissioners then?
Yes.
Yeah, would need an amendment for any additional fees.
And we have to make, the applicant would be responsible if they.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, so the,
For that service.
and as we had, I think there was, because unfortunately, the one that kind of hammered it home was the one BZA meeting for the public hearing for the, one of the cell towers, and we did not have a quorum. And they were from out of state, so,
Either June or July.
yeah.
Over the summer. Also included in that rules and procedures is the revamp of our plan review committee that we currently have. It names people in it. Some of those roles and titles don't exist anymore. So continuing, bringing something back that already exists that we haven't used in the past. Item number 4, amending the zoning code to allow reuse of current non-conforming parcels to provide additional property taxes and encourage infill development as suggested in the Connersville Comprehensive Plan. I'm sure some of you remember that conversation about lots being too small and not being able to be built on, so working to
Yeah.
allow that on those non-conforming
Yeah.
lots. The big one, the reformat of the zoning code, review land use tables allowed by right as a special exception, contingent use, temporary use, prohibited uses in each zoning district.
Brian, is this also to be used for county too as well as city, or is this the county a separate ordinance?
Oh, no, this would be the city, because the zoning code is, the area zoning code is both city and county.
Okay, well, there's things in there, and I can't point it out, but within the last couple of years, I was doing an appraisal on a property that had 80 acres, but it had a 40-foot drive going back to it, and we had problems with the surveyor saying it had to be at least, I think, I said, well, look, it's 40 feet is plenty. These things need to be looked at because they
Oh,
had
yeah.
80 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's one of the things also we've talked about in the past, because we had 2 last year too, that went through a similar type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're unreasonable at times. I mean, it's their access, even if it was easement, it's still their easement, so
Yeah.
why can't they put a home back there?
I mean, the zoning code says you can't have a gravel driveway in Fayette County too.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy too.
Yeah, well, like I said,
Sure, you're
yeah,
plenty
because
of
there's a lot of different things like that in there that aren't, yeah,
They were built
Same
in
thing to me.
1820, yeah,
Yeah.
so
don't make sense.
Yeah.
But, yeah, because there's a lot of, there's multiple things like that.
these things we can change ourselves, correct? I mean, we-
Yeah, yeah, and so these would be some of the things as we're going through the reformatting process. Then we're looking at the different sections of, okay, we need to change this within this section, this within this section. And so one of the reasons also for reformatting the zoning code is that it will be, so instead of everything running all the way through, each section, such as land use, or they're all distinct. And so that way I think various members, some people have been on the zoning code long enough, where such as with the airport overlay district, trying to figure out where to shoehorning something where there is no room for it. It makes it a lot more flexible for changing in the future. and I've gotten through part of it is before the, actually, when I still had help,
Yeah.
is I really haven't touched it since then. I think that's what about.
Well, I just think that egress and ingress access to it, that would be sufficient. I mean, as long as it's theirs to work with.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, and I agree with that, Bob. It does make a lot of sense.
And in our meeting with number 5 in particular, we discussed the potential of bringing an outside consultant to do that work. Because Bill's a one-man show, and that's something that has been put on the back burner already. And if we can pay somebody to
Yeah,
do
and
that work,
yeah, and one of
for
the
us.
one of the reasons with something like this, you would ultimately, for the final push on something like this, we can get it into the format that we'd want in a unified development ordinance. But the idea is that because there's a lot of things in there that, and there's multiple things in there that are no longer within the Indiana code. And you have a consultant who really knows a lot better because they work with the stuff on a regular basis. They know what's in there, they know what's no longer in there, and then they can remove those things. In some cases, things are then adopted under a new part of the Indiana code, and then they delete the old part. So these are the types of things, one of the things with the consultants you'd have. Then there'd be part of the Unified Development Ordinance then would also be then adopted within it, the building codes as they're adopted by the city and the county, your subdivision regulations, the other one that's in it would be the thoroughfare plan. These are the various things that actually go in it.
Well, on the other side of what I was talking about is I've seen a lot of properties sold off, and I get to them, and the farmer has an 8-foot drive to get back to his barn back there. I mean, you're talking new construction, I'm talking about existing property. You got an 8-foot access to his barn, you can't give it landlocked, so we allow it to happen. Why have it in the zoning code opposite from what we're using?
And that's one of the things that happens when you have basically a boilerplate zoning code. The current zoning code we have was sold to and adopted by a lot of jurisdictions in Indiana. And as a matter of fact, Franklin County used to have the same one. Matter of fact is up there in one end of Indiana to the end had this. And it's pretty much the same ordinance. Basically, all that's changed was the names of the jurisdiction. And it went through a process that really wasn't inclusive to look at these various things right there. And because I wasn't here when it was adopted, so I really don't know what was happening, how it got to the point where it was, as far as, I don't know what the public review process was. And so then going through with making these changes is you would then that's just like with the comprehensive plan, the consultant is going to help you get it for what's going to work for you. And and a lot of the time it's and this would be where it's, well, no, we don't want to do that because, yes, some consultants might suggest certain things, but, well, it really, because there's some things that might be suggested, it's like, well, we don't really have the staff to do some of these things, so we really need certain things simplified.
It's good to have these passed by someone that doesn't have a dog in the fight when it's passed either.
Exactly. And when I was working as a consultant, that's exactly what happens. The idea is that you as the consultant are brought in so that that you can make the hard recommendations. People don't always like to hear the hard recommendations, but that's where the consultant also comes in. And to me a big important part of having a consultant is they're a lot more familiar than the Indiana planning laws than I would be. I mean, I try to stay on top of things, but there's so much within them that it's kind of difficult. I think Jeff might agree with that.
Our current plan, I mean, if you want to find anything, I mean, it takes
You
It
zoning
takes some,
code.
yeah, in the zoning code, it takes some searching to
Yeah, yes.
get your
yeah,
answer. And if we, simplified in formatting,
Yeah.
that you could just
Yeah,
pull from a matrix that you kind of knew where to start from and
yeah.
just make it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and that's where I think some of you've been around long enough to have seen the land use table. I think because didn't I provide everybody a copy of that at the start of last year also?
Probably.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a place to start. So if there's new uses that go in there, then there's other uses that get pulled out. And then this is part and parcel with then simplifying the list of approved uses. Okay.
So that'll be a big one. Number 6 is more of a softball one, replacing our parking regulations with more realistic parking requirements based on actual parking demand, not something that I don't know who made it up right now. But it's an overabundance, so that one should be pretty easy.
It's an old philosophy that went with it, and because the idea was because planning is because at one time parking standards were set based on one day of the year, the busiest shopping day of the year, because at the time this ordinance the language was in place. It was before Black Friday. But it was the biggest traditional shopping day for that. The busiest day was, guess what? Christmas Eve. So you had these excessive parking standards based on one day of the year, which is why you have these huge spreads of asphalt.
We've got our accessory uses. There's a lot of stuff in there that's fun to tackle. Updating those and development standards, new accessory uses such as accessory dwelling units for tiny homes, and temporary use for tiny homes. Number 8, amend our subdivision regulation to include the new city and county development standards. I don't know if they're finished with those or not, but once we have those, we can read through those and hopefully by the end of the year adopt that into our subdivision regulation.
Because there's other things in there that probably also need to be amended also.
I would entertain a motion to approve our annual plan. Second, okay. We have a motion to approve the annual plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Director's report. Personal update and inspections.
Okay. Okay, discussion, annual plan, okay. All right, well, everybody knows is that I'm gonna have a knee replacement. So everything is set now. It will be on the 14th of February. So I anticipate being out at least until the end of the 3 weeks, which will be the last day of that would then be the March 3rd. So hopefully I will be able to be back in the office to do office work the following Monday.
You'll miss the Boston Marathon this year, Bill?
Yeah. I don't think they have one for I don't think they have the Walker division.
Or wheelchair, right?
Yeah. But, so it just gives you an idea what's going on with that. And we have someone in place to do this, and what we're going to request with people is, I've already spoken with some people and it's going to be in the messages with my phone, and then also that rather than 24 hours, we may need, because for someone else to arrange their schedule, 48 or 72 hours would be preferable with the third party doing the inspections. And what I also suggested was, and because I made large projects, I spoke with for example, up there with the assisted living. And some of these larger projects, we could probably just arrange it to have just one specific day each week to go up there to then just inspect whatever the progress is at that point in time. Because the walls are up, the sheathing, and the next thing they're gonna do is they're gonna put up the trusses should be going up this. If they haven't gotten them started this week, they'll be starting on them next week. And then once the trusses are up, they are going to then start everything that goes in in the attic space of the trusses. Mechanical, the electrical, everything that goes up there, the vents that go through, they want to have those in place. So it's anticipated to be, when they started, at least a 6-month project, so it's going to be busy for a while up there.
Okay, the annual report. I think the only thing I see in the annual report that's of note is looking at our fees generated year over year and the additional fees under the new fee schedule and how much better off we were by.
I think we can also emphasize to people that, what we've accomplished, though, and some of those are pretty big and pretty important. So, and because some of those are on the list and some of the other items that are on the remain list, those are actually in this.
The home occupation,
In
the
the ho-
solar ordinance, and the comprehensive plan for the city of Connersville.
And so those are some pretty big items.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the
Bill,
annual report.
was it, our new fee schedule was not the full year, was it?
No, it was not. It's just the last, well, actually, it was the whole year.
Was it? I couldn't.
Yeah, well, the only one that was only part of the year was the actual new permit system,
The software.
the software.
But the
Yeah.
fees went in January 1, didn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so, yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
remember for sure.
Yeah, so so they've generated, over what it would have been otherwise, 25,000 additional dollars were generated. Okay, and
I'll entertain a motion to accept the annual report.
I'll make that motion. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Last item on the agenda, adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
declare the January 26, 2023 BZA meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Carrie Steele. Bill Crawford.
Here.
Jeff Fisher.
Here.
Bill Free.
Here.
And should I call him Darren? I don't have him. Oh. Darren Price.
Here.
Bill McDaniel.
Present.
Jeff Wessling.
Present.
And Beverly Rude.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we'll introduce a new member, the Commissioner Citizen Appointee, Bill Free. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
You'll have some fun here.
My understanding, yes.
It's not dull.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the election of officers. I guess we'll open up the,
Darren, do you want to try the way that Daryl did? About the, just make a a motion for the entire
Oh.
slate?
Yeah, if everybody's willing, I'd make a motion to just retain everyone as it stands.
I'll second that.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We're all back in. All righty. Next is the annual plan. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at that. At least whatever. But you want to talk about it?
Well, if anybody has some questions, because,
No, I don't know.
do you have any questions about it?
Okay. All right, we'll just accept that as presented then. Director's report.
Which is the annual report's the big part of it.
Just need a motion to accept the report as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor of accepting the annual report, please show the sign of yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
And, all right, those opposed? All righty, I think that's all that's on the agenda. So I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Yep.